Hi, I'm Catherine. Welcome to my making adventure. This is a video podcast where I share all the crafty things that I've been up to today, where I show the crafty things I've been up to recently. Today I have knitting and sewing to share with you. I don't think I have any crocheting. I live in the rural Midwest with my husband and our 3 daughters. Everybody's home today, so you might hear some background noise, but I'm doing the best that I can. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as My Making Adventure. Today is May 23rd, 2026. And let's jump right in. I have quite a few little finished objects to share and then some larger projects to discuss with you. First thing, this was finished last time I filmed, but I did not share about it. This is just a little head bandana. The end is poking out the front side, but that's okay. This is a little like head scarf, kerchief bandana, I don't know, for my girls that they could wear. I knitted it out of Hoey cotton that I have in the fingering weight, and I loosely based it off of the Italian bandana pattern by an Italian knitter. I think that I adjusted the increases. I made it color changing. I did a lot of weird things and I could not duplicate it. I don't think I even have a project page on Ravelry. This was like a hyper fixation project that I did over the course of 2 days, I think, where I like started and ripped back a lot of times until I got what I wanted. And my children don't wear it, so I haven't made another one. It's cute though. I have a lot of, oh, this is probably the right side. Here, how about the right side? I have a lot of this yarn for making dishcloths and those cats. And so I was using scraps up for this. I think I used up this purple and this red, and I think I still have more of this teal. I think the orange and the teal are colors I got for the cats, so I have quite a bit of them still. And I just did tiny little I-cord strap strings. Dawn talked to me and gave me all her advice, but she crochets them, so I modified, like I looked for a knitted pattern to try to follow those modifications. I could have crocheted it, but I enjoy knitting more, so I knitted it. And I did an I-cord, and so I did I-cord straps as well as little ties, but she's the one who recommended the ties not be long, I think, so I did short little ties on it. So that I wanted to share. And then I finished my color tip socks. Ta-da! I'm super excited about these. I need a day where I can wear these with my color tip tee. And I need to take some photos of these with my color tip tee just to show it off. So this is the leftover yarn from a color tip tee I knit last year, and I used it to make socks for myself. They are 64 stitch socks, and I used the colors that were on the sleeves of the tee to stripe in the legs, and the sleeves of the tee are different, so the 2 socks are different. The heel matches the color that I used at the neckline of the tee, and then the toe and cuff yarn I ended up not using in the tee at all, so I had a lot of it, so I did it 2 places on a sock. This used, let's see how well I can math and go, about 45 grams of the main color. This is for the pair. 9 grams of the purple, 15 or 16 grams for the heels and toes, the legs of the socks. So there's actually 2 colors on each sock. 3-ish grams, 2 to 3. 2 grams per stripe, so maybe like 6 grams of the colorful yarn on each one. That's only 3 between, where's the other one? Okay, so yeah, maybe 2.5 or less than 2 grams maybe per stripe. They're 7 round stripes. So I think there's about 5 grams between the 3 stripes of that contrasting color there. And I am using up the leftovers of that. This was all these contrast colors are from a mini skein set from Forbidden Fiber Arts. Is that what it is? Forbidden Fiber Arts. And it was called Sheep Punk. And I've been using up all the remaining bits to make yarn cozies, and I finished a 3rd yarn cozy. I think last time I showed you the first 2, so I used up the rest of the purple and the rest of this yellow striped in with the white and black. The white and black wasn't going to be enough to finish the whole yarn cozy, so I added in some of the little bit of that yellowish green that I had left. And I love it. I actually had knit up all the white and black, like down to here, and then I ripped back to stripe in other colors. And the ends are woven in, and I'm ready to put it on my yarn. So I'm enjoying this pattern. Is called Fingering Yarn Cozy by Melina Franken. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. The pattern calls to rib the body of the yarn cozy, and I just left that out because it's easier to knit stockinette, and it seems to be working just fine. So I knit it on US 2s, magic loop. You cast on at the ribbing, and then you knit down and close up the bottom. Those are my knitting finished objects, but I have a sewing update because I worked around all of my sewing dilemmas. I ended up borrowing a sewing machine from the library, and it worked fabulously. And with that machine, I finished the dress I have been sewing for my daughter. She's already worn it twice. So this I had to, I think, sew up one side of the skirt and then add the gathering stitches to attach the skirt to the bodice and then hem up the bottom of the skirt. That was all I had left to do. And so I finished that, I think, within 24 hours of getting the library sewing machine to work. The only downside was it only came with 1 bobbin. So I couldn't like fill multiple bobbins at once while I was sewing. It said it had 4, but it did not. But otherwise it was a well-working machine, and it ran really quietly, which was really nice because my machine was always loud and kind of bouncy. So I really enjoyed that. I was telling one of our friends at church that we were visiting about all of my sewing dilemma, but how I had solved it by borrowing one from the library. And she said, hey, so-and-so gave me a machine 3 years ago, but I've never been able to use it because I'm just not strong enough anymore to get it out and work it. Would you like to have it? I was like, sure. So now I have a new sewing machine. It's about the same level as mine was, but it's a brother. My original sewing machine was a Singer, and this one is a brother, but it's still like one of the introductory home machines. It's not industrial quality or heavy duty or fancy at all. But with that machine, I was able to work on another project I had in mind. I had thrifted some men's button-up shirts in order to try to sew shorts for my daughters for the summer. And so using that other machine, my new machine, I did sew each of my daughters a pair of shorts. This is one example. This is the 3rd pair I did. So they're just like elastic waisted shorts. This one I was able to save the pocket placement and use it for the back of the shorts. And they're a hit. My girls enjoy them. I didn't use a pattern for this. I just traced like shorts that they have. but I think that I would have preferred to use a pattern. I should have used a pattern. I think the shorts would fit better if I had used a pattern. But in the future, maybe I will purchase a kid's shorts pattern or pants and shorts pattern. A lot of times they'll come as one and you can do one or the other. But it worked okay, and I'm learning things. I've always been quite intimidated by sewing pants or shorts just because of the way that the pieces are all attached together can get confusing. But I did it, and I hope to do more. So there's the sewing update. I don't have any current sewing projects, but I might in the future. All right, we can talk about whips now. My big whip is my storm sweater by Petite. And I've kind of run into and resolved an issue. I think I took a video of myself trying this on initially. And if that video is deemed able to go in here, I will pop it in here. But I'm talking about the sleeve dilemma. So, but the dilemma is that I've made a sleeve. And it's very clear that the decreases it's the most enormous sleeve. And this is my arm fully bent, and I haven't added the ribbing yet. It's huge. It's huge. And I knew it was huge. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to block it. I couldn't tell from the pattern that it was going to be so huge, but when I was knitting it, I could tell it was huge. So this is the decreases as the pattern has them written. And the pattern is like an 8-row repeat. But even I was like, maybe I could just pick up 8 fewer stitches and still knit the decreases. Still knit the decreases, but like taking out 8 stitches isn't going to help me. It's going to do like that much good. It's still going to be enormous. And I don't dare like pick up. I already picked up 5 more stitches than it called for. And had to decrease those out right away, like in my first 2 rows around. Picking up 8 fewer stitches. So my automatic pickup rate was 5 too high. Minus 8. I can math. Or 5 and 8 together is 13. So picking up like 13 fewer stitches than I did. Surely I can't, like, that's not even going to be enough. So I was like trying to figure out how to add more decreases in. It's written in pattern, and the decreases are only written in the pattern at the purl ridge areas. And it's also obviously way too long. Like, I do not want my cuff this long. So I need to rip out at least 1 section, but maybe even 2. But then I'm like, do I want a balloon sleeve? If I knit it, I think it's 3.5 inches of ribbing. That will pass my pinky. I feel like Petite Knit, what you doing here? Us moms want to knit sweaters that we can wear without having to take off to wash a dish. I don't know, part of it's probably my fault because my row gauge is probably way off. I can never make row gauge and stitch gauge. So now I gotta figure out what to do. And I'm bummed because I'm feeling stuck here on this project. I thought blocking it would help me. I actually decided that when I was done blocking it, I was just gonna knit it as written because I don't have any giant sleeves. So how do I know how much I'm gonna hate it? If I've always knit like a tapered sleeve, how do I know that I'm gonna hate having a big baggy sleeve? So I was going to just knit it as is. But then I put it on and I was like, no, this isn't just a giant sleeve. This is like a giant sleeve. So I don't know. I don't remember where I was at last time. No, I do. I have a stitch marker in to remind me. I was working the body and I added 2 inches more to the body. And then I ran out of one of the balls of yarn I was using. One is still attached. And I put the body on tried-on tubing. I did the neckline. It turned out really good. I am in awe of the knitting magic that happened with this folded neckline here. I read the directions and I was like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense to me. And it was a day where we were doing a bit of driving, so I was like, I can just try it anyway. And I tried it anyway, and I saw why you would do that. And it's basically the cuff folds itself, or the collar folds itself down because of the 3 rows that you do in the middle of the ribbing. And I thought it was crazy, but I did it anyway. That's one of my rules, is try it once. And wow, that was cool. That was super cool. And then I picked up the sleeve. And when I picked it up at the rate that it called for, I had something like 8 extra stitches on my sleeve. And there were no sleeve decreases until the 4th row of the sleeve. So I just kind of decreased out those 8 stitches as I was working. No, actually there's no call for sleeve decreases until here. So I decreased out those 8 extra stitches in the first 4 or 5 rows of this sleeve. And then I knit the sleeve as called for. It's charted beautifully. The decreases are laid out for you. And it was very clear what I should do. There are 6 patterns on the sleeve with decreases as you go. And then you do 1 more decrease before you start the cuff. I did it as written, and maybe you saw in the video, that did not work. That did not work. And so I blocked it. Before when I was ready for the cuff, I blocked it to see. And the sleeve was too long and too big. I didn't want to have to rip back the sleeve for 2 reasons. I knew doing a more regular rate of decreases would just be complicated because of the way the sleeve is charted. And I didn't know that I was up for that level of complicatedness. Not that I couldn't do it, but I didn't know that I was really feeling up to it. Also, it took me almost a whole week to knit the sleeve. So did I want to rip it out? No, I did not. So what I ended up doing is ripping back one of the chart sections and doing a rapid decrease. I decreased 20% of the stitches in order to put on a cuff with 10 fewer stitches than called for in the pattern. I was debating knitting another 10 rounds, so this is 20 rounds. I was debating knitting another 10 rounds of the cuff just to get that full sort of, I don't know, stretched cuff look. However, this still is a very long and baggy sleeve. So I decided that 20 rounds was enough, and I bound off in the called for method in the pattern. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I decided that it was good enough to bind off and cut the yarn and pick up the second sleeve. And now I'm just working the chart. This diamond chart takes me the longest to knit, I'm pretty sure. This one, which is the same as this one, is the fastest because there's more rows of plain knitting. But the sleeve is really big and it takes a really long time to knit each section because there's just so many stitches. I'm used to sleeves getting so fast at the end because you decrease out so many stitches as you go, but that just wasn't happening here. I'm not super thrilled, but I've never had a balloon sleeve before, so try it once, I guess, and we'll see how it goes. Second one is in progress. And then I still need to finish the body. I would really like, it's kind of unrealistic. I would love to have this done this month. There's a new make along I'm thinking about starting June 3rd, a new mystery knit along. It'd be nice if this was done, particularly because I might want these needles. So the sleeve of the storm sweater was one of my knitting dilemmas I faced this week. I am eager to have this done. This was a 12 Cast Ons project. It was my 12th 12 Cast Ons project. I think I still have one more on the needles when this one is done, plus the socks that is a 4-part project. And I can't knit those until later because they're for birthdays that aren't coming yet. Hold on a minute. I did face another dilemma this week, and that was with the Relax tee. I'm pretty sure this is a new cast on since last time I filmed. I cast on the Relax tee, which is a pattern by Aimee Sher. Hey, wait, I'm wearing my coloring book Raglan, which is also a pattern by Aimee Sher. What makes this special is it was my first ever knit garment. Yeah, my first ever knit garment. I knit it, I should say, yeah, because I crocheted a cardigan before, but I ripped it out. My first ever knit garment. And it's wonderful, it fits me great. I found the pattern very beginner friendly. It did include some like color striping options that I just omitted, knowing that I didn't want to have to deal with that as a new knitter. So this is my second Aimee Sher pattern. It's the Relax tee. And it is a fairly new pattern. I am using 3 yarns. And I have yarn Cozies. Oh, I was gonna trade out I just knit this one up. I had to wait to knit my 3rd yarn cozy until I finished my socks, but I cast on my Relax tee before I finished my socks. So, oh, I can show you the yarn. This is a Sock Obsession yarn. Let's see if I can find any. It's really pretty. It's a single ply though. So it's not a sock yarn. It's a single ply 100% merino. It's called Spellwork. It's got blues and teals and oranges and purples and like a creamy tan. It's beautiful. And then I have Pearls and Pines, which is the colorway, I think, Coffee House. It's brown, speckly, with some pink undertones. And then I have Malabrigo Rosalinda Ultimate Sock. And this is like pinky and creamy, but it also has some purple, which I was surprised when I was knitting up. I feel like you can't see the purple in the skein or the cake, but I can see it when I'm knitting with it. And this is how I've done it. I have striped the Coffee House color and the Malabrigo color, and then used the Sock Obsession yarn for the pearl bumps, and I was going to use it for all the ribbing. That was my plan before I started knitting. I'm going to be honest, I'm not loving this. And there's a few things. I'm just not liking the way that it's looking with the pearl bumps being that yarn. I love the yarn. I think I want to knit it into a shawl. I'm not a shawl knitter. I have some DK yarn that I think it would look really good with. So I also feel like my Raglan lines, let's find one that doesn't have all the yarn changing. My Raglan lines are just like don't lay flat. It's just lumpy. Maybe some of that would block out. The Raglan rate is constantly changing in this pattern, and I don't know how much of that is to get like a really good fit, because the Raglan rate did change in this pattern, or how much of that is just to get it to work with the pearl bumps. And I'm just not loving it. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna frog this. I have committed to at least, I have my Borrego, my pink one, back on the needles, not really even all the way. I haven't even knit a whole row with it. I've committed to knitting myself, to knitting 4 rounds with that. And then if I'm still unhappy, I can frog it. I will probably try it on tubing and put it on first, just to like be sure, because this is a lot of knitting. I am like 12 rows away, less than 12 rows away from separating for sleeves. So I'm definitely more than halfway through the yoke of the t-shirt. But I can't continue if I'm not gonna wear it. And I'm dreaming up other things with these yarns. So I think that this Sock Obsession yarn that is on the pearl bumps will turn into a shawl at some point. I need like a 2-color, 1 skein of each color, DK weight shawl pattern. And then I'll tell you about these other 2 in a little bit, but I think I'm gonna knit these together still. So that is my update on my relax tee. And the update is, I think I'm gonna frog it. You didn't even know I was working on it, and now the update is, I think I'm done with it. I'm not in love, and it's a combination. I'm finding the Raglan increase section to be, it feels overly complicated. The constant changing of the increase method and rate. There's like 1 round where I did body only increases. This is a fingering weight garment. That is literally 4 stitches. Like, to avoid adding 4 stitches to the sleeves, you could have just, I don't know, 1 round where I had to read through and figure out to do a different rate of increase. 4 stitches is like 1/2 inch over the whole body of the garment. So, and it was like in the middle. It wasn't like, oh yeah, for your last section, only do body increases. It just wasn't working very well for me to keep up with all of the, it was a lot for me to keep up with all of the changing directions for the yoke. The body is not going to be like that, but the yoke just felt really complicated. I know a lot of people have knit it and love the way it ended up fitting. I'm just not sure if it's going to be for me, and that's a bummer because I paid for the pattern. But maybe I would like it if I knit it in 1 solid color. And so I'm not completely throwing the pattern out or anything. I may end up knitting it like in the fall with a different yarn. But I also have the anchor tee pattern that I might knit with that yarn in the fall. We'll have to see. We'll just see how much of my summer plans I get done because I keep changing my summer plans. All right, and then when I was angry at both of my projects, I cast on something new. Emily of Woldenburn, who also gifted me this bag, was talking about the tees she wanted to knit, I think. And one of them was the Sophirine tee by Audrey Borrego. I don't actually have it up. I thought I had written it down. Audrey Borrego. And Audrey Borrego's patterns are free on Ravelry. I think that she is no longer like designing, and so she like just switched all of her patterns to free. So I downloaded the pattern. It is a t-shirt or a tank top. Can be either one. It can have texture or stripes kind of loosely written in because it's a pretty straightforward design. And I decided to just swatch by casting on and seeing how I liked it with the Hobie cotton yarn, the same that I did that like little girl's bandana. And this is the left front piece. And I found the pattern to be clear and simple. I worked this up, I think, in one day. Obviously it's just like one section, but I don't think I'm going to continue knitting it with this yarn though. I would have to use white as the main color. I'm just not a big fan of wearing white shirts, and I find the cotton doesn't like fill in the gaps the same way merino does, and so it feels kind of see-through. And it's just heavier than merino. So even though it's like a fingering weight cotton, I think maybe those two other yarns for my relaxed tee could turn into this. I don't really have the yardage that the pattern calls for a main color and a contrast color, so I might have to kind of try it and see. But I think if I did the contrast color as all of my ribbing, I could maybe make the tank top. I do appreciate that the tank top has super wide sleeves. So that would be nice. It's kind of like a vesty tank top. And maybe I'd have to make it shorter than I'd like and wear it as a vest. Maybe I'd be able to make it long enough. I'm just gonna have to see. I hope you can't hear my girls. Those are my current whips. I am thinking about knitting the Quilt Star Shawl mystery knit along. I don't remember the designer's name, but maybe I'll link it down below. And using some of our own hand-dyed yarn to knit that so that my husband can take it to markets as a sample when he's selling the yarn, or we can take pictures of it as a sample. I am wanting to do some more sewing. I think I'm going to make some zipper pouches and wristlets. I have a lot of hooks and I made them. I bought a package of hooks so that I could make myself a wristlet for my keys, and it came with like 20. So I thought maybe I'd sew up some more, either for gifts or to sell at our markets. And I have to work through my scraps. So my fabric I have to start working through it. So I need to be diligent about that. I also Still have a couple dress shirts I bought to sew for my daughters. This one, I think this is a 3XL. Yeah. And I think I'm gonna try to sew my 6-year-old a dress out of it. Like a little, the button up, keep the button placket so it buttons up the front. I might sew it closed at the bottom, but leave the buttons on and let it like button in the front for real. And still like maybe try to gather the skirt or maybe leave it A-line, I don't know. And maybe some ruffle sleeves, maybe a ruffle at the collar instead of this gigantic collar. Maybe if I do a ruffle there. Maybe some bows, I don't know. My brain has been really thinking about how I could make this cute. And if I could leave the bottom hem and add like little bows at the bottom for the skirt. But yeah, I would probably sew part of the placket closed, especially since men tuck their shirts in, there's usually several inches without a button at the bottom. And rather than having her worry about that, I would probably just sew it closed. I don't know if I try to maintain the neckline, if it's gonna be like look enormous on her. So that's the part I'm kind of hesitating on right now. Like, do I try to keep the neckline or do I just sew it somewhere else? You know, just like redo the neckline, do a different neckline, lower down. I probably have to rip off this pocket, but I might add it to the front, like as a little front pocket for her. And then depending on how the skirt fits, I might try to like add elastic around the back so it fits better and doesn't look like a pillowcase. So those are my thoughts with this shirt that I got for her. She's 6. And she wears like a 7 or an 8 girls. So I'm hoping that I can make this work in a way that works for her as well. I have one more like grayish men's shirt that I bought. I think I'm gonna see how the making the dress goes before I decide what to do with that 4th one. I was able to sew my baby shorts out of just the sleeves of one of the men's shirts. So my 2 daughters have shorts that match. I don't know that I really gave her enough room in the diaper area using sleeves. So I might have to do it different if I were to do it again. But they're really cute on her. So yeah, those are some of the things I'm hoping to do. I'm gonna be busy. It's summer. But I have lots of fun plans. So thank you for joining me today for my making adventure. Let me know what you're planning or what you're working on or what you're dreaming of down below. God bless.